Before we jump into it, a lot of the research for this video was done alongside you guys over on my Twitch channel. I'd absolutely love for you to join our community over there, which you can find linked in the description or at twitch.tv/𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏. Thank you and enjoy the video. The Witch Queen is finally upon us, and with this DLC has come a lot of new content from story, exotics, missions, loot, everything you can think of. The Witch Queen has it and more. I figured before I jump into my usual routine of reviewing every weapon for a given expansion, it's probably important for me to make a guide on weapon crafting, so that's what today's all about. Ladies and gentlemen, today's video is going to be your ultimate guide to weapon crafting inside the Witch Queen expansion. You got questions? I got answers, and hopefully in a pretty digestible format to make things pretty easy to understand. Before we jump into it though, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed the video today. That'll really help out with the algorithm and further push our channel to 150k, so I'd really appreciate it. Now, let's jump into this. First things first, to craft a weapon, you must unlock weapon crafting. So how does that work? Well, literally play the game. Yeah, it's pretty much that simple. When you start out in Witch Queen, you're going to be thrown into the first 2 levels, whether you're an expansion owner or not, as they're free for everybody. At the end of those levels, you'll be brought to the Enclave on Mars, and this is where you'll be introduced to weapon crafting via a short introductory quest. So yeah, that's how you unlock weapon crafting. So with crafting unlocked, there's another major thing that you're gonna need to know, and that's what the crafting materials are and how the hell do you get them. So let's begin. Firstly, to get crafting materials, you're going to need to find DEEPSIGHT resonance on a legendary weapon out in the wild. You'll be able to tell if a weapon has resonance by the red border that it drops with. This is complete RNG, by the way, and can drop on any legendary weapon that you come across, so keep your eyes peeled. These red border weapons have an attunement objective attached to them, which states to complete activities and get kills while the gun is equipped to complete the attunement. After reaching 100% on the weapon's objective, you'll be able to extract the weapon crafting materials from the gun and then use those to craft and shape your own weaponry. However, you'll notice that when extracting the materials off of said weapon, you have 2 different options. These options correlate with the 2 main perks on the gun, as each perk is tied to one of 4 legendary materials. For instance, if my DEEPSIGHT weapon has One For All as a perk, and I want the material for that perk to use on my future weapons, I'll highlight One For All to see what element it's associated with, which that element is Ruinous, then go down to select the Ruinous option when extracting the crafting materials to complete the attunement. Now that you know how DEEPSIGHT weapons work and generally how to get crafting mats, let's go over each of the crafting materials specifically and what their purpose is. First up, we have our green rarity crafting materials, the Resonant Alloy and the Neutral Element. Resonant Alloy is a material that is gotten through dismantling legendary weapons and is only used to alter the masterwork of a weapon when crafting, at least that's what I've seen personally. Neutral Element, on the other hand, is a much more important crafting material. This material is pretty much the basis of all crafting, as it's the most common and used for pretty much everything. You'll get Neutral Element through general questing a lot of the time, but you'll consistently get it when completing DEEPSIGHT weapon objectives, as regardless of which 2 options you choose, you'll always get a hefty amount of Neutral Element. Next up, we have our legendary rarity crafting materials, and these are Mutable Element, Ruinous Element, Adroit Element, and lastly, Energetic Element. As mentioned before with the One For All example, these materials will be found depending on the perks that dropped with your DEEPSIGHT weapon. Thanks to the Reddit user MachineHead933, the elements seem to have at least a little rhyme or reason behind the perks they're associated with, but it's not perfect. Ruinous tends to be on damage related perks, Energetic is usually found on ammo or reload perks, Mutable is mostly found attached to perks about abilities, glaives, or sword energy, and lastly, Adroit tends to be found on non-damage stat increases like handling, stability, etc. Whereas Resonant Alloy and Neutral Element are very reliable to get, these materials have a little bit more RNG behind them, but they're also pretty impactful. Their specific use is to serve as a material to apply enhanced perks on a weapon, basically an upgraded version of existing perks. For example, an enhanced version of auto auto-loading holster will auto-load your weapon faster when stowed compared to a regular auto-loading perk, and in cases where you'd like enhanced perks on a crafted weapon, these are going to come in handy. Now lastly, for the weapon materials, we have our exotic rarity, and the only material in this category is the Ascendant Alloy. This is used when applying an exotic catalyst to a craftable exotic weapon, or when applying an enhanced perk to a gun, and these can be bought once a week from the Cryptarch, via rank ups at the Gunsmith, as well as farmed via things like the weekly Witch Queen story mission, and from what I've heard, the higher difficulty Wellspring activity. And both of the last things that I mentioned can be accessed via ranking up Finch on Savathûn's Throne World, and in cases like the weekly Witch Queen story mission, this is a playlist that'll appear in the Savathûn Throne World that is going to feature a story mission from the campaign that rotates weekly like a Nightfall. It has Nightfall difficulty options and can be farmed multiple times for things like Ascendant Alloy. Now that you know how to get crafting materials and how they work, let's talk about actually being able to craft what weapons you want via what Bungie calls patterns, or in more common terms, a weapon blueprint. These patterns are basically what needs to be unlocked before you're able to craft the weapon you want, and you can keep track of them by going to the Patterns and Catalyst tab in your inventory and seeing where each pattern comes from, as well as your progress on said pattern. Some patterns may be locked behind quest progression, like this shotgun here, but most patterns will be locked behind how many DeepSight resonances you have completed with it. For example, the Pointed Inquiry Scout Rifle, I need to have the Scout Rifle drop for me with red borders 2 more times, and I need to complete those objectives 2 more times to then unlock the pattern to craft it for myself at the Enclave. If you're ever curious on how to unlock a weapon pattern after having it grayed out in your crafting menu, check inside the Patterns and Catalyst tab and you'll be good to go. Lastly for the video, I want to talk about weapon leveling for not only crafted weapons, as you'll need to reach certain levels to apply certain perks and traits, but also leveling for completing those pesky DeepSight Resonance weapon objectives. Since the thrallway inside the Shattered Throne was nerfed to no longer grant progression, the 2 best sources of farming weapon levels outside of just regular gameplay are the 𝗁𝗔𝗂'𝗍 checkpoint inside of Last Wish and the entrance to Grasp of Avarice from the 30th Anniversary DLC. Pick your poison here, but I personally find 𝗁𝗔𝗂'𝗍 to be your best bet, as you have unlimited ammo thanks to rally flags, and all the enemies for the most part are just thrall, making them super easy to take down and get progress on your weaponry. But guys, that is pretty much everything you need to know about weapon crafting inside the Witch Queen. We went over how to get patterns, we went over unlocking weapon crafting, how DeepSight Resonance works, how the crafting materials work, what they are, how to get them, and pretty much everything in between. If you guys do have any questions whatsoever, or maybe there wasn't something that I touched on, or maybe you might be confused on something, please leave a comment down below. I will be checking out the comment section like I always do, and answering questions for those of you guys that need it. But I think this guide was pretty self-explanatory, but again, if you guys do need help, feel free to comment down below. I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. I have waited a few days before I started making Witch Queen videos because I didn't want to rush anything out. I didn't want to have any half-assed content on the channel. I wanted to make sure that I got you guys some pretty quality stuff, and this is going to mark the beginning of some really good videos that are going to be uploaded to this channel. So stay tuned to the channel if you guys do want to see some quality Witch Queen content. But guys, that is going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you aren't already subscribed, definitely feel free to, because we're on our way to 150K, and it has been quite the journey so far. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.